If you ever thought that one person couldn't change anything, meet this teacher. No money, no power, but with faith and perseverance, he saved an entire forgotten generation. A true story from the heart of America, where hope began in abandoned classrooms. District 9, in the southern part of Detroit, Michigan, where the education budget always ranks at the bottom, the dropout rate is the highest in the state, and most teachers last less than a year. People call this place the temporary lot, where folks come to build quick experience before applying for jobs in better-off districts. Mr. Daniel Foster, 32 years old, with patchy facial hair, a worn-out shirt, and a pickup truck borrowed from his father, showed up one September morning. There was nothing remarkable about him, except his eyes that never wavered. The students of Class 8B looked at him like he was some clueless newcomer. They had already driven out 3 teachers in just 3 months. There were 28 students in the class, but only 17 showed up on the first day. Among them, only Maria, a Mexican girl who often kept her head down, was willing to answer when asked her name. Jamal was dozing off, while Darius was drawing graffiti on his desk. When Mr. Foster spoke about Shakespeare, the whole class burst into laughter. One kid said, "Come on, teach, we can't even afford breakfast. Who cares about some old guys with feather hats?" Every day was like that. His words fell into silence. But he didn't give up. He came to class early to wipe the board, printed extra worksheets with his own money, and each day, he read a short passage from To Kill a Mockingbird in a heartfelt voice, as if reading to his childhood self. One rainy day, Maria forgot her jacket. Mr. Foster opened the trunk of his truck and handed her an old gray hoodie. Maria hesitated. He simply said, "You have the right to be warm, no matter what anyone says." The next day, Maria brought back a worn-out book. "Teacher, can you read the next page from yesterday?" It was the first time a student asked him not to stop. Darius, the most disruptive kid in class, was arrested for stealing bread from a corner store. Everyone said, another kid headed to jail. But Foster was different. He went to see Darius at the juvenile detention center. Not to scold him, just to ask, who was the one person you trusted most as a kid? Darius gave a bitter smile, then broke down in tears. No one had ever asked him that. His father was an addict, his mother had left, and he was raised by a grandmother with dementia. Foster said, "If you want to try again, your seat is still here." A week later, Darius came back to class. He said nothing, but from that day on, he always carried a pencil. 3 months passed. The whole class began to change. Maria wrote an essay that brought the entire school board to tears. Jamal, the one who used to never say a word, started writing poetry. One day at the end of December, Mr. Foster found a folded note tucked under a desk. "You're the first person who believed we weren't garbage. I don't know what I can do in this life, but at least now I want to try. Thank you, teacher." Unsigned student. He read it in silence, then put it in his wallet. That note stayed with him for the rest of his life. But not everyone supported him. Some teachers said he was just putting on a show. Some parents said, "You think a few stories can change a life?" At the end of the semester, budget cuts meant the class no longer had enough books. Mr. Foster started photocopying each page by hand, and at night, he delivered for Uber Eats to have money for school supplies. One winter night, he had an accident. His car slid on an icy road. He was hospitalized with a broken leg. While lying in the hospital, he worried, "If I'm gone too long, will the kids go back to how they were?" The following week, while he still couldn't walk, something no one expected happened. Maria stood up and taught the class in his place. Darius read the poems Jamal had written. The whole class took turns cleaning up, sending assignments to the teacher by email. They kept the class alive because they didn't want to lose the one thing that made them feel they had worth. Every student in Class 8B passed. For the first time in the history of District 9, a class had 100% of its students move up on time. At graduation, the school board invited Mr. Foster to give a speech, but he declined. Instead, he sat in the back row, watching each student who was once considered lost step up to receive their certificate. Maria was valedictorian. In her speech, she said, "Someone once told me, we don't need anyone to save us. But sometimes, just having one person see you as human, that's enough." 10 years later, Darius became a PE teacher at a high school. Jamal published his first poetry collection. Maria became an immigration lawyer, helping people avoid deportation. And Mr. Foster, he was still there, still in the same old classroom, still with the chalkboard, still with the same greeting. Welcome, everyone. Today we're going to tell the stories the world needs to hear. People asked him why he never moved to a better place. He just smiled, because I don't see anyone as hopeless. Only kids who haven't met the right person yet. In a world where children are so easily abandoned just because of where they were born, a teacher like Daniel Foster reminds us. Education isn't about delivering knowledge. It's about lighting belief. When you show someone they're worth believing in, they can walk through a life they once thought was hopeless. We don't need to be superheroes. Sometimes just being the first person who doesn't walk away is enough to change a life.